The fire that purifies is the same that destroys. In the flames, the soul is refined or consumed, and that choice depends on the intention of the spirit that invokes it. Paracelsus. Since the most ancient eras, fire has been one of the elements most revered by humanity, inspiring fear, admiration, and devotion. Far more than just a tool for survival, it has always been seen as a sacred symbol, representing both the creative and destructive forces of the universe. Cultures around the world, since antiquity, have associated fire with deities and rituals, recognizing it as a vehicle for spiritual transformation. Its power to shape matter and reveal hidden truths has been interpreted as a direct reflection of divine energy. But what makes fire so central to human spirituality? How did it take on such a prominent role in so many traditions, from Zoroastrianism to alchemical rituals, always carrying the promise of purification and rebirth? What is the mystical secret that fire holds, capable of transforming not just matter, but also the spirit? Fire, one of the greatest milestones in human history, not only transformed the living conditions of early humans, but also shaped their spiritual understanding of the world. From the moment our Paleolithic ancestors saw the first sparks ignite a flame, they realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. It was a force that, coming from nature, could be both an ally and a threat. That warmth, which protected and illuminated, also destroyed with incalculable ferocity. This duality marked the beginning of a long journey of reverence and fear. But what did our ancestors think when they first captured fire? In many primitive cultures, fire was believed to be a direct gift from the gods. In Greek mythology, Prometheus steals fire from Olympus to give it to humanity, defying Zeus and allowing humans to come closer to divine powers. This myth is not unique. In various traditions, celestial fire is seen as a gift reserved for the gods, given to humanity as a sign of favor, or, in some cases, as a test. The introduction of fire to ancient civilizations was undoubtedly a turning point, inaugurating the era of self-awareness and control over the environment. By the time of the Neanderthals, fire was more than just a survival tool. It became a point of social and spiritual convergence. Archaeological discoveries show campfires kept burning for long periods, indicating that these groups understood fire as something that transcended the physical. It was not just a flame, it was the manifestation of a greater force, something sacred. What did these fires represent for them? Beyond protection and warmth, they were, undoubtedly, symbols of connection to the invisible mysteries of the world, a link between what they could understand and what eluded them. As human societies evolved, fire began to be treated with increasing reverence. Mediterranean cultures, such as the Greek and Roman, gave fire a prominent place in their myths and rituals. The myth of Prometheus reflects not only the courage of knowledge, but also the inherent punishment for those who dare to tamper with forces they do not fully understand. Zeus punishes Prometheus for stealing fire, and this punishment reverberates in many cultures, where the use of fire has always been linked to spiritual responsibility. Celtic mythology also incorporates fire as a transformative force. The Druids, spiritual figures of great influence, used burning mirrors to concentrate sunlight and ignite sacred fires. For them, fire was not merely generated from nature, but an extension of the sun, the ultimate source of life and energy. The Druids believed that this fire, concentrated from the heavens, was a divine gift, and its flame was a link between the earth and the spiritual world. Druidic ceremonies, such as those of Beltane, involved large bonfires where offerings were made to the deities, symbolizing the purification of communities and the renewal of life. Beyond Europe, other ancient civilizations also shared this reverence for fire. Among the indigenous peoples of North America, fire was a living entity, a spirit that spoke to shamans and spiritual guides. Community bonfires were not only practical, but moments of transcendence, where fire became a portal for dialogue with ancestors and spirits. Shamans believed that by coming into contact with the flames, they could access ancestral wisdom and bring healing and guidance to their tribe. Around the world, fire symbolized the discovery of human self-awareness. It represented the spark of creation, the transformation of matter, and the power to shape one's destiny. Even in more recent traditions, fire continues to be seen as a metaphor for spiritual enlightenment and humanity's ability to evolve and transcend its limits. We can then affirm that, throughout history, fire has not only warmed our bodies, but also ignited the human spirit. When we think of death, We often associate the end of the physical body with the return of the soul to an immaterial state. In many cultures, fire has been one of the primary agents of this transition. But why has fire, such a destructive force, been chosen to guide souls on their post-death journey? Beyond its power to consume, fire also purifies. It reduces the body to ashes, transforming matter into something ethereal and spiritual, facilitating, according to many belief systems, the passage of the soul to the beyond. In the funeral rites of India, cremation is essential for the release of the soul from the cycle of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Fire, as a mediator between the world of the living and the dead, transforms the physical body and liberates the soul, allowing it to continue its spiritual journey. For Hindus, cremation is not just an act of farewell, but a crucial step in the process of spiritual liberation. Through the flames, the soul separates from its material form, ready to enter a new cycle, or, for the most enlightened, to achieve final liberation. In funeral rites, fire also symbolizes transformation and rebirth. In ancient Greece, the bodies of heroes and warriors were burned on funeral pyres, offering their souls to the gods in exchange for a place in the realm of immortals. Cremation was not just a practical method, but a ritual of purification and honor. The fire transformed the body and, at the same time, elevated it to the divine plane. The souls, it was believed, rose with the smoke to the heavens, guided by the heat of the flames. And what about the funeral rites of the ancient Vikings? When a great warrior died, his body was placed on a ship, and off the coast, the ship was set ablaze. The flames consumed his body, sending him to Valhalla, the hall of honored warriors, where he would be received by Odin. This symbolism of fire and water together suggests a crossing, a portal between worlds. Fire, once again, is the force that transforms and guides the soul to its final destination. In ancient Egypt, although mummification was the predominant funeral practice, fire also played a symbolic role. During death ceremonies, fire was used in rituals to protect the soul on its journey to the realm of Osiris, the god of death and resurrection. The use of flames symbolized the purification of the spirit and its safe passage to the other world. Although the body was preserved, fire still represented a spiritual force that could protect and guide the soul. The belief in fire's purifying power was not limited to Egypt or India. In various shamanic cultures, fire is lit during wakes and funeral rituals to ensure that the soul of the deceased finds its way to the spiritual world. Bonfires serve both to illuminate the soul's journey and to protect the living from malevolent influences that might be released during the transition between life and death. Fire thus acts as both a barrier and a bridge, connecting the two worlds and ensuring the safety of those making the crossing. In Jewish tradition, fire also appears symbolically in funeral rites. A candle is lit and kept beside the body until burial, symbolizing the presence of the soul and its closeness to the divine. This flame is seen as a representation of spiritual life, which continues to burn even after physical death. In this context, fire does not destroy, but keeps the light of the spirit alive. The presence of fire in funeral rituals across time and diverse cultures reveals its universal nature as an agent of transition. It burns, purifies, and transforms, returning the body to the earth and allowing the soul to continue on its journey. The destruction of the physical body by the flames has never been seen as an end, but as the beginning of a new path, a new life, on a higher plane. Few religious traditions have granted fire such a profound spiritual centrality as Zoroastrianism. For the followers of Zarathustra, fire is not merely a natural force. It is the visible manifestation of Ahura Mazda, the supreme god. Fire does not just burn, it reveals, illuminates, and purifies. But what is so special about fire that it is seen as the very presence of God on earth? In Zoroastrianism, the universe is conceived as a battle between two forces, light and darkness, good and evil. Fire, a symbol of light, represents the triumph of truth over falsehood, of wisdom over ignorance. In the Zoroastrian temple, the fire burns perpetually, and the priests tend to it with reverence, believing that this flame connects the faithful directly to the divine. The flame is a metaphor for the human soul itself, which must be kept bright and pure, even in the face of temptation and the forces of darkness. Zoroastrian temples, known as Atash Behram, house the sacred fire that must never be extinguished. This fire is more than just a simple flame. It is a fusion of energies. To consecrate the Atash Behram, priests must collect fire from 16 different sources, including flames from household stoves, blacksmiths, and funeral pyres. This union of various forms of fire symbolizes the convergence of the forces of the universe, brought together to represent Ahura Mazda's presence on Earth. What would happen if this flame were to be extinguished? The extinction of this sacred fire would signify cosmic disorder, chaos, and a rupture between the human and divine realms. But fire in Zoroastrianism is not merely a symbol. It is an active tool of purification and judgment. On a deeper level, it is believed that, at the end of time, there will be a great judgment in which all beings will pass through a trial by fire. Those who have lived according to truth and light will be purified. Those who have sided with darkness will be consumed. Thus, fire is seen as the ultimate means of separating good from evil, the pure from the impure. It is not just a physical agent, but a spiritual one. Zoroastrians do not worship fire itself, but view it as a channel, a means of connecting with the divine. Prayers are offered before the flame, and fire acts as a conductor, carrying the prayers to the heavens. Every spark, every glowing ember, is an expression of Ahura Mazda's power, a manifestation of the divine light that permeates the cosmos. When praying before a flame, the faithful are not only seeking protection, but renewing their commitment to living in alignment with truth and justice. But is the sacred fire of Zoroastrianism merely an ancient tradition, a ritual of the past? Or does it represent something deeper, something that resonates with each individual's internal journey? When we think about the inner flame that each of us carries, we might ask ourselves, how do we keep that flame burning in times of darkness? Just as the Zoroastrian fire needs to be fed and protected, the inner flame of the human soul also requires constant care. It must be shielded from negative influences, and the individual must nourish their own spiritual quest to keep this light alive. Throughout history, Zoroastrianism has influenced many other religions and traditions. The idea of maintaining an eternal flame, as seen in candles lit at Christian altars or in Jewish practices, was likely inspired by this ancient Zoroastrian practice. The flame that never goes out, present in so many religious contexts, serves as a reminder that the search for truth and light is continuous and eternal. The centrality of fire in Zoroastrianism reflects a deep understanding of the symbolic and real role it plays in human life. It is not just an external force, but a flame that burns within each of us. Keeping that flame alight is both a responsibility and an act of devotion. Are we tending to our inner fire well? Or have we allowed it to dim, consumed by the forces of darkness? Since time immemorial, fire has been present in invocation rituals and magical practices, acting as a conduit between the material and spiritual worlds. When we gaze into a flame, what do we see? Its movement, light, and transformative power make it an ideal tool for manipulating invisible energies, invoking entities, and channeling spiritual intentions. But why fire? What makes it so special in ceremonial magic? In Western ceremonial magic, fire takes on many forms. From candles in witchcraft practices to large bonfires in invocation rituals, the flame is a means of communication. When a magician lights a candle in a ritual, they are not merely creating light, they are opening a channel to another dimension. The candle's flame acts as a beacon, illuminating the path between the physical and spiritual realms. Each candle color carries a distinct meaning. White candles, for example, are used to invoke purity and protection, while red candles channel energies of passion and strength. During these rituals, the candle's flame is carefully observed. Its behavior can be interpreted as a sign of spiritual forces' presence or the ritual's effectiveness. If the flame burns brightly, it is seen as a sign of spiritual approval. If it flickers or goes out, it may be a warning that something is wrong or that the ritual needs to be paused. Thus, fire is not just a passive tool, it actively participates in the magical process. Bonfires, on the other hand, are used in rituals that demand greater power and transformation. In many cultures, large bonfires are lit to invoke gods or nature spirits. As the fire consumes offerings such as herbs, incense, and symbolic objects, it transforms these items into spiritual energy, allowing the practitioner's intentions to reach the invisible realm. But is fire merely a means of transformation, or does it possess intrinsic power that shapes the ritual's outcome? Fire's power also manifests in rituals of consecration and purification. In ceremonial magic, objects used in rituals, such as daggers, chalices, and pentacles, are often passed through fire before being used. This act of purification by fire symbolizes the removal of any impurities that might contaminate the spiritual work. When fire touches these objects, it consecrates them, imbuing them with a new and powerful energy, ready to be used in subsequent rituals. Beyond Western ceremonial practices, fire also plays a crucial role in invocation and sacrificial rituals in other traditions. In Hinduism, for example, fire is central to the Homa rituals, where offerings are burned to appease deities and purify the environment. Fire is seen as a direct channel of communication with the gods, carrying human offerings and prayers to the celestial plane. The Homa ritual exemplifies the belief that fire not only consumes, but transforms human intentions into something that can be accepted by the gods. Fire is also a tool of banishment and protection. In rituals aimed at eliminating negative energies or unwanted entities, objects representing these influences are cast into the flames. As fire consumes these items, it purifies the environment and protects practitioners from any harm that may be present. It's interesting to note how the same fire that invokes and transforms can also be used to banish and protect. In both cases, it acts as a force of purification and renewal. The use of fire in invocation rituals goes beyond the simple act of burning. In some traditions, the flame is also used as a portal. In theurgical rituals, where the goal is to contact divine beings or spiritual entities, fire is lit to create a sacred space. It is believed that as the fire burns, it opens a direct connection to the spiritual plane, allowing practitioners to communicate with higher forces. These rituals, however, would be incomplete without reflecting on the deeper meaning of fire. It is not just an external tool, but also represents the inner flame that every magic practitioner must keep burning. Just as physical fire transforms and purifies, spiritual fire transforms the practitioner, elevating their consciousness and awakening their inner potential. Ceremonial magic, therefore, is not only about manipulating the external world, but also about transforming oneself. Alchemy, long shrouded in mystery and misunderstanding, is a tradition that goes far beyond the quest to turn metals into gold. For alchemists, the true gold was not the precious metal, but the purification of the human spirit, and fire was the central element in this process of transformation. But what exactly does fire represent in alchemy? Is it merely a flame that burns, or something much deeper and symbolic? Alchemists saw fire as the catalyst for transmutation, not only of matter but of the spirit as well. The first phase of the great work, calcinatio, involved burning substances until they were reduced to ashes. This process of combustion was not merely physical, but spiritual. Fire, in destroying matter, symbolized the destruction of the soul's impurities. Thus, alchemists viewed fire as a metaphor for the spiritual work necessary to cleanse the soul of its defects and limitations. The alchemical fire, however, is not an ordinary fire. Ancient texts speak of a secret fire, or philosophical fire, which is not a literal flame, but a latent, spiritual energy, present in all things. This secret fire must be awakened by the alchemist for transmutation to occur. It is both internal and external, representing the creative force of the universe, while also symbolizing the power of transformation within each individual. By mastering this fire, the alchemist not only transforms metals, but also their own soul. Throughout the alchemical process, fire undergoes different phases. At first, it destroys. But as the process progresses, fire begins to recreate. The substance that was burned is now purified, and through stages such as dissolution and coagulation, it is transformed into something new and higher. For alchemists, fire symbolized this duality, the ability to destroy and to recreate. It was a force that not only reduced matter to ashes, but also elevated it to a superior form. What makes the alchemical fire so special is its capacity to be controlled. Alchemical texts devote a great deal of attention to explaining how fire must be handled. It cannot be too intense, nor too weak. The fire must be moderate, steady, like the internal flame of the alchemist, which must be kept in balance to succeed in the great work. Alchemical practice is as much about mastering external fire as it is about cultivating the internal fire, the one that burns within every human being and must be nurtured to achieve enlightenment. Fire also symbolizes the alchemist's internal journey toward the philosopher's stone. More than a physical object that turns metals into gold, is a metaphor for spiritual enlightenment. It represents the state of perfection achieved after the process of purification by fire. Thus, The quest for the Philosopher's Stone is, in essence, the quest for the transmutation of the soul, for the realization of an individual's spiritual potential, and fire is the guide on this journey. Moreover, the philosophical fire was seen as the creative energy of the cosmos itself. Influenced by the Hermetic tradition, alchemists believed that fire represented the divine spirit that permeates all things. Lighting the fire in the alchemical laboratory was, therefore, a sacred act. It symbolized the activation of this divine energy, allowing the alchemist to become a co-creator in the process of transformation. In this context, fire was not just a tool. It was a manifestation of divine power in the material world. But is this quest for perfection through fire relevant only to alchemists? Or are we all, in our personal journeys, engaged in a similar process? The fire that consumes and purifies in alchemy can also be seen as a metaphor for the trials and challenges we face in life. Every difficulty we encounter, every obstacle overcome, transforms us, purifies us, and brings us closer to our true selves. Just as alchemical fire transforms metals into gold, life's trials have the potential to transform us into something higher, something purer. Fire, then, is not just an element of destruction or creation. It is the symbol of the soul's journey in its search for enlightenment and perfection. It represents the eternal cycle of death and rebirth, destruction and recreation. By mastering this fire, both in the alchemical laboratory and in our own lives, we can achieve true transmutation, the kind that elevates our consciousness and connects us with the divine. Throughout history, esoteric mysteries have consistently used fire as a central symbol in their initiation and transformation rituals. Whether in the Eleusinian mysteries, Gnostic rituals, or theurgical practices, fire has always been present as a force that connects the human with the divine. But what exactly does fire represent in these rituals? Is it merely a ceremonial tool, or does it hold a deeper and more symbolic meaning? In the Eleusinian mysteries, fire symbolized both life and death. During nighttime ceremonies, initiates carried torches as they participated in rituals reenacting the myth of Demeter and Persephone. In these ceremonies, fire represented the light of wisdom that guided participants through the darkness of ignorance. The initiates, by undergoing these rituals, symbolically descended into the underworld with Persephone and emerged with a new understanding of life, death, and rebirth. Fire, therefore, was both a symbol of destruction and renewal. But what truly happened to those who took part in these rituals? Was it the fire, with its heat and light, that catalyzed the spiritual transformation of the initiates? The answer seems to be affirmative. Fire, in these rites, symbolized the secret knowledge that burned away the impurities of the mind and soul, allowing the initiate to emerge purified and enlightened. The heat of the flame was not just physical, but spiritual, warming the soul and revealing hidden truths. In Gnostic rituals, fire served a similar function, but with a different emphasis. For the Gnostics, fire represented gnosis, the divine knowledge that liberated the soul from the shackles of the material world. The physical world was seen as a prison, and the flame of gnosis was the key to escaping it. Gnostic purification rituals involving fire were a way to awaken the divine spark within each person, allowing the soul to rise above material limitations. Theurgy, an esoteric practice dedicated to invoking gods and spiritual entities, also made extensive use of fire. On theurgical altars, flames were seen as representations of divine light, guiding practitioners in their communication with the spiritual world. The flame burning on the altar was not just a symbol, but a portal through which spiritual energies could be channeled. Fire acted as a mediator between the human and the divine, enabling practitioners to effectively invoke gods and spiritual forces. In Egyptian rituals, fire was associated with the god Ra, the sun god. Dawn rituals, which involved burning incense, represented the renewal of life as the sun rose and the day began again. Fire in these rituals symbolized the very creative energy of the universe. By burning incense, the Egyptians believed they were sending their prayers directly to the gods, transforming physical matter into a spiritual form that could be accepted by the divine. Rites of passage in various esoteric traditions also used fire as a symbol of trial. Many initiates were required to symbolically pass through a barrier of fire, representing their death to the material world and their rebirth into a new state of spiritual consciousness. This act of passing through fire symbolized the internal transformation necessary to access hidden secrets and achieve enlightenment. Fire was both a challenge and a promise, a trial through which the spirit had to pass in order to emerge stronger and more illuminated. But does the use of fire in esoteric mysteries apply only to ancient rituals? Or does it still hold relevance in modern spiritual practices? In many ways, the symbolism of fire continues to thrive in various contemporary esoteric traditions. The candle flame on an altar, the use of bonfires in purification rituals, all these acts echo the ancient use of fire as a symbol of transformation and enlightenment. The eternal flame, present in so many esoteric traditions, represents the light of knowledge and wisdom that must never be extinguished. In ancient Rome, the Vestal virgins kept Vesta's sacred fire continually burning, believing that its extinction would bring calamity. This fire, symbolizing divine protection over the city, is a powerful metaphor for the need to keep the flame of spirituality burning within each of us. If we allow this flame to go out, we risk losing our connection with the divine and with the true purpose of our lives. Fire, in esoteric mysteries, is not merely a symbol of physical light, but of inner illumination. It represents the soul's journey in search of truth, wisdom, and connection with the divine. In every ritual, in every flame lit, there is a reminder that fire does not destroy. It transforms, it purifies, illuminates, and reveals the hidden secrets of the universe to those who are ready to seek them. The symbolism of fire spans all eras and cultures, representing a force that both destroys and creates. In its flame lies the mystery of life and death, of spiritual rebirth and purification. In spiritual traditions, fire is not just a metaphor, but a living force that transforms the spirit and guides the seeker along paths of enlightenment. Whether in the bonfires of ancient rituals or the candles lit on modern altars, fire continues to represent the divine light, always present, waiting to reveal the universe's hidden secrets to those who seek sincerely. If you're interested in exploring more about spirituality, I've carefully selected some videos filled with profound knowledge and fascinating discoveries that you will love. Just click on one of them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of self-discovery and spiritual learning. Your commitment to knowledge is the first step to transforming your reality.